concerned about nitrogen right now. But these septic to sewer conversions have more than nitrogen that they're trying to improve. And some of them in critical areas and old communities along the shoreline, they have pathogens, they've got enterococcus, they've got other things that can affect human health that aren't in this BMAP. So you gotta pay attention to all the aspects of water quality. And then, oops. And then the blue bar, the dark blue bar here, is if we build the projects on the list that I just showed you, that's where we'll be. That's what we'll achieve. So we'll achieve a bunch of nitrogen in excess of what's required. And then here, look, we're just squeaking in there. We're just squeaking in with the projects that I've listed, especially with the stormwater projects with the over $21 million investment. We are just squeaking in to meet the compliance threshold for the BMAP. That's good news though, at least it's not negative. These are for Loxahatchee River. I just wanted to point out it's a financial requirement through our program. We have another $3.5 million of projects to be done and another 2.7 in flood control projects. So it's just like it never ends. For us, we're always chasing money, always, always, always. And then here's our completed projects. We've done over $15 million of projects already with a combination of stormwater and septic sewer in the Loxahatchee watershed. So the investment that your county has made in water quality, we have not been asleep at the wheel. We've been working very actively to make these things happen, and we have to keep our foot on the gas in order to do that. So on the public outreach and education, Diane has really come on board. She's been with the county now almost 5 years, and she has really taken the bull by the horns on this education piece of it and has done a fantastic job with the fertilizer public education and outreach, the Lead Floridian Now program she manages, and working with so many partners. She's developed just a lot of relationships all throughout all the counties. And this Water Ambassador Training Program, which I've been announcing at these meetings. If you haven't done it, I encourage you to just spend the day, have a Panera lunch on us, and go ahead and try to figure out how you can be an ambassador in your communities. You probably already are, to help us on some of our water quality issues. But we hold 10 workshops a year, and we do secret shopper surveys. I know a handful of people in here that would love to do that. We go in, Diane goes in as an official county representative and goes to a big box store and says, okay, here's our fertilizer ordinance, here's your sign, it must be posted, and educate people on it. And then the secret shopper comes and follows a couple days later and asks questions and tests them to see, and then we get results. So I know a lot of you in here would love to do that. But just even, the big focus of what we do isn't public education programs. That's a very small portion of our budget, but it's a really important one because it connects us with people, connects us in the community, helps us understand how we can best serve people, where the misunderstandings are, where the understandings are, where we can leverage people's talents and abilities. And over the next 11 years, that's $660,000. And that's not, that's 11 years. So it's not a lot when you look at it year by year, but it's very important work that we must fund. And the economic value of good water quality, it is not a secret to anybody sitting in here that there is a direct connection to the health of our environment with the health of our economy. Ask any realtor, ask any paddleboard company, do you all remember what was happening a year ago right now? Remember how packed this room was with people sitting on the floor all over going, what are you going to do about my business? And it was horrible. It was a horrible situation. I still have nightmares about it. So, but we've now proven, there's a number of documents now that have proven the connection, have quantified the connection of what happens to our community, what the economic loss is with the blue-green algae bloom. And so tourism, recreation, fishing. How many people in here fish? Like to fish? Anybody? Oh, 2 people like to fish. Yeah, I know you're telling me stories now. So the county's negatively impacted. Here's some people right here on the sandbar. So this is about the measure of the total annual economic benefit for the water quality, like for our county, when you take all of those real estate, fishing, tourism, all of that into account. And here's the cost of the projects and ongoing education. This is the total of all the numbers that I just gave you on all those project lists. And so the return on investment is 25 to 1 if we do those water quality projects that we talked about, and we realize the economic benefit from that. So that means for every dollar spent in project implementation, there's a return of $25 in economic value. And that does not include values associated with defense and aerospace. And because I actually took that out of the calculation because I didn't want to overemphasize the role of defense and aerospace in this county versus Brevard and Volusia and other areas. So I just took that out. But if you included it, what they do give credit for to Martin County for that aerospace and defense, it's a return of investment of 41 to 1, which is incredible. It's almost hard to believe, which is why I thought, I'll just take it out. And it's still 25 to 1, even when you don't even consider that. So we're in that ballpark, and I think that it's just important to remember that it's really easy. You have the tangible of a tax bill or a receipt of a purchase where you can see the tax that you paid. So that's more tangible versus walking out after this meeting and going to enjoy the waterfront and saying there's no green algae on it for a variety of reasons this year. But to be able to put a value on that is really tough. But go talk to some of the shop owners in downtown Stuart and maybe they'll help you get some perspective on that. So the point is, implementing the projects in the water quality needs assessment that are presented to you today will provide a positive return on investment in terms of economic benefits to the county. And what we don't know is how enforceable is this thing? It's pretty enforceable. We've never pushed DEP to say, hey, we're not going to do it, kind of thumb our noses at them and say, we think it's optional, we're not going to do it. Martin County isn't that county. We've been actively doing water quality improvement before there was a requirement to do it. But it does beg the question, what if we didn't fund them? What if we didn't have the money to fund them? What if we didn't? We don't really know, but I don't know that we really want to find out. I mean, I guess you could get under a consent order that you shall do all of the projects and then spend more in kind of the legal process. But I just want to point out that one of the potential solutions that is currently being discussed is a 1-cent sales tax proposal. This is hot off the press. We got Jill, did you help me hand these out? Okay, great. These are fact sheets that came from the county to give some specifics about what the sales tax referendum is. We are not advocating, like staff certainly cannot advocate for voting for it, or not voting for it, or whether the projects are good. So I'm here sharing facts with you today. And anything on here is verbatim from the sheet that you're getting right now. But this past Tuesday, our board voted to put a 1-cent sales tax referendum on the August 29th ballot. If it's approved, the local sales tax would become effective on January 1st, and it would expire in 2027, December 31st. So what is a local sales tax? The county receives 1 cent of the 6 cents collected for sales tax, but the money is used for operating expenses. By state statute, a local sales tax of 1/2 or 1 cent may be added to the current sales tax of 6 cents to be used for certain infrastructure projects. Question, are we alone in this? Are we the only ones who are doing this? 61 of Florida's 67 counties levy an additional local sales tax, and of these, 28 counties have no expiration date. 55 counties have a 1 cent surtax, and 6 counties have a 1/2 cent surtax. All of the counties surrounding Martin County have a sales tax. And will the sales tax apply to all purchases? No. Necessities like groceries, prescription drugs, and residential rentals will be exempt. In addition, there's a cap limiting the tax to the first $5,000 of single purchase for big ticket items like cars and boats. And then how is the money spent? Will the public have any input? A sales surtax will provide funding for water quality, infrastructure rehabilitation, roads, bridges, and drainage, and to construct and reconstruct county facilities as identified in the county's capital improvement plan, which is adopted annually at a public hearing. Yes, there is public input. Just ask Jack. And what is different from what was being discussed and what was really decided on Tuesday is that at least 35% of the funds collected, the board wanted to be very focused and not have a wish list funded, not have unspecified projects funded, not have things that are a good idea at the moment funded. They wanted to have a list of projects, and we were able to provide them the same list of projects that we just showed you. And so, I think because of that specificity, they said at least 35% will be spent on water quality projects. Don Donaldson thinks that'll be more like, or he was the assistant county administrator, thinks it's probably more like 40%, and that would be $9.2 million a year for water quality projects that we would be able to spend between now and 2027. Projects will be prioritized, and all expenditures of sales tax proceeds must be approved by a majority of the board at an advertised public hearing at which the public will have an opportunity to provide comments on each project. Will then get considered. If it's a sales tax project, it will get considered in front of the board, and each project will have an opportunity to have the public input. And then, what are the specific projects to be completed? The list of potential projects for which sales tax may be used is comprised of projects previously approved by the board in the capital improvement plan. And here are some examples that they put on the sheet. I'm not going off script here. This is what they have. But St. Lucie River and Estuary watershed, subject to sewer conversions. And then there's intersection and sidewalk repairs, road resurfacing. Our roads, if you've noticed, need some help. We have very much an infrastructure backlog that since the recession hasn't been replaced, and they're in need. Culvert replacements, neighborhood restorations. This is kind of what I was talking about, how we coordinate water and road projects at the same time. And so when you're doing a water project and you combine it with a road project, you might also get some new resurfacing, new sidewalks, traffic signs, pavement markings, and drainage. We try to do, like, they call it a neighborhood restoration project, where you're doing all those components of the neighborhood. And then there is an allowance for re-roofing existing public facilities, because the roof is failing, and that's part of it. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. This is a picture of All American Ditch. And like I said, I was out there this morning. This was just a pineland with a lot of exotics in it. And this project is still 6 months from being complete, because this is like one of the first phases that we worked on, so that's why it looks so almost done. But if you go out there, there's other components of the project that you can still see that we're going to need all of those 3 to 6 months that it's going to take to finish. But this is now a stormwater treatment area where water is going to flow in here and meander all the way around here and back before it discharges into the St. Lucie, and it was never receiving treatment. It was completely the most polluted tributary and going to the St. Lucie. And we're changing that one project at a time. So we're just going to doing the slow march on funding and continue to be diligent on leveraging the funds that we get. And that's all I have. So thank you so much.
You got time just for a couple questions, and then go ahead.
Well, will I have an opportunity to say what I have to say about the sales tax after Dr. Craig?
Could we do that
I'd
for
like
public
to
comment?
listen to him first.
Yeah,
And then
perfect, thank you.
I'll go home frustrated if
Thanks,
I
Dan,
don't
for the
get
good Three quick questions. One, are we going to get a copy of this on the website for the Rivers Coalition?
Yes, Jill has the PDF version of it. She'll post it.
Excellent, thank you. 2, why do we have a VMAP in the first place? And 3, are the calculations of the reduction of nitrogen and phosphorus, are those like based on real samples, or is that based on theoretical reductions projected by land use and things like that?
It's based on the models that DEP uses to calculate reductions based on all of the collective experience and knowledge and sampling. Some of it is on sampling on stormwater projects that they have. So yes, it is kind of like a paper model, probably listed in a little more detail than it should be. It should be lumped into like rounded or something. And then why do we have a VMAP in the first place? Because we have impaired waters, and they've been measured, and they've been noted to be impaired all over the state. We're one of them, and because impaired means that you have too much nitrogen and phosphorus nutrients. Some water bodies are impaired for different components of water quality, but in our case, it's nitrogen and phosphorus. Okay.
Deb, you got a comment?
Yeah.
After 1 week rain, the estuary turned to gravel.
Yep. Sure did.
What's going on with the C-44 project?
still in progress, and I think you asked me last time, what's the schedule? And I think we're still on schedule for a twenty
And then
nineteen
somebody
completion.
said that they were having contract resolution, or contract problems.
I think they're working them out, I don't know all of the details, but
But
the
they are
schedule
working
hasn't
on it?
changed.
They are working on it?
Yes, oh yeah, there is a great video being distributed. If you will look, the Water Management District just issued a video yesterday showing
We put it
the
on our
Seaport.
Facebook page already.
And it's on the Rivers Coalition Facebook page, and I encourage you to see it, because you can see a lot of the dirt being moved and see what they've gotten done. It's impressive. That will help us.
Deb, I know that, you mentioned a lot of what Martin County's doing, and I appreciate that study, including the economic report too, because, over 700 million a year annually benefits, and then with our investment, it's been 18 million a year, it shows definitely a return on investment that we can't overlook. We need to press forward with that. But the other thing that everybody needs to understand is Martin County is one of 22 entities within our watershed that have to comply to the BMAP. The Basin Management Action Plan requires 22 different entities, Martin County being one of those. But there are a lot of other municipalities, a lot of other agricultural units and places within that big watershed of 3, 24, 10 Mile Creek and everything that have to comply with those same reductions by certain phases of the project. And some of them have already gotten credits for doing certain land use changes or certain BMAP, best management practices signups. And we gotta be careful about how those are credited versus how actual projects like this do actual reduction. So kudos to Martin County for stepping up and doing all these things and making an effort, and however we have to move forward with helping get those done, I think is great. But let's not forget there are 21 different other entities, including agriculture in our big case, big part of our watershed. The natural watershed part was about 200,000 acres versus about 510,000 total now with all the expanded watershed that we saw on the map with C-23, C-24, C-44 basin and 10 Mile Creek. And those are controlled water basins by the Water Management District that have drained those lands for local purposes. And they have to comply as well, so.
Good point, all good points. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say that the Native Plant Society, we've done some of our field trips up in these storm treatment areas. And the county has done an excellent job with environmental native restoration. So we really kudos to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job.
We try to get the bad ones out and put the good ones in.
George?
I got one question, Deb. Did Martin County get credit for the removal of all that sediment and muck because I've been to several of the BMAP meetings and none of the credit's ever been issued for the
We really
removal
pushed
of
for
that.
that, we tried, and DEP just doesn't have a method that they deem as acceptable to be able to quantify.
That's why I wanted to
that
ask if they
benefit.
ever developed a model, because treasuries work up the, and all the removal that's going on further up.
So you have to know.
You would think that would be some credits for that, so.
They do have a model on how you can get credit for the muck dredging, but that would require us to do a bathymetric survey almost every year, and it's just not economically feasible for the county to do.
I just lost track of it, and I think you guys would know.
Yep.
Let me just quickly say too, that Martin County has a lot of great information. This is down at their kiosk, and I know Diane Hughes has a lot to, about the fertilizer ordinance, and also they distribute public health information and from the CDC about the algae bloom, how to keep your dogs out of the algae. So I just picked these up when I was down at the county this morning, and if you haven't been by, you can, get some of this public information outreach. Take it, pass it on to.
To your homeowners associations, we would love that, we'd love to meet with homeowners associations, so
there's
please let us know, we can come talk about why you shouldn't.
But we have,
Like
we'll
offer to your
try to get in one more, I think, Toby, about that.
Just I want to also say thank you to Martin County for utilizing local contractors. We've been a part of many of these projects. We've been grateful for the work, but also it multiplies the investment more so. So that may be another factor you could look at, and all the local contractors we've been utilizing, and then that money's obviously going right back into the community, so.
I love that
thank you.
idea, I think that's a great idea, that we should quantify the amount of local contractors that we use for our water quality projects. It would be a great number to have. Thank you for making that point.
From what I know, and I don't know if I'm right, the St. Lucie River was declared impaired in 2002. So I think kind of what Alex was asking earlier, and I wonder about myself, I mean, it's great, all this stuff that we're doing, and especially what Martin County's doing, but it is telling that these water bodies were designated as impaired by the state long, long ago. And for whatever reason, I mean, so ours didn't come into play until 2013, so the water body was declared impaired by the state in 2013, I'm sorry, 2002, and then it took to 2013 to get a plan. And it's just, perhaps it would be nicer if it were a little stricter to make up for all the time that they lost. But thank you. The work that Martin County does is remarkable.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you go. We're gonna move along, and actually, I know we're gonna be ahead of schedule because Marty isn't here today.
I only have about an hour of stuff, so I won't go home discouraged. No, actually, I'm only going to talk for about 10 minutes. And I'm Paul Gray. I work for Audubon, Florida. My primary responsibilities revolve around Lake Okeechobee. And what I'm going to talk about today is very narrowly the future of Lake Okeechobee water management and some of the constraints we're going to have on it. But before I do that, some of you guys have seen this picture of me back in the 1930s. My name's Marvin Chandler. I'm the first Audubon warden on Lake Okeechobee. And notice I have 2 belt buckles. One's actually a badge. That's back when Audubon hired people and the state would deputize them and they would enforce game laws. So, and what's he holding? A water moccasin.
Wow.
And they were out at a Wading Bird rookery and they couldn't get around the snake on their way back, so they killed it. But it had in its stomach, it had a tricolored heron egg, it had 3 glossy ibis eggs, it had another egg that was digested, it had a baby American egret, and an adult glossy ibis in it. So these things are fun to play with if you find them. Okay, so what I want to talk about, and Daryl asked me to talk about it, and I've got a couple different documents that Audubon's produced about these topics, and I will make them available to people. I have a few limited copies, but anyway, how do I do that? Okay, but I was just going to talk about, you know, everybody talks about, well, once we fix the dike, we can just keep the lake deep and it'll fix everything. We won't have estuary releases because the water will be in the lake. It won't be coming down the estuary. That'll be good. We'll have a whole bunch of water in the lake, so water supply won't run out. We'll have plenty of water for farmers and cities. And so everything's going to be great once we fix the dike. Even the governor was down here signing legislation a little while ago saying, yeah, we're just going to make the water in the lake deep. And I'm going to talk about some of the considerations we're going to have in the future about trying to do that. Being a scientist, it's not so easy. So I'm going to talk about 4 different things that when we talk about how to schedule the lake, and this is going to happen in about 5 or 10 years when they finish fixing the dike and getting it restored. I'm not going to talk about the reservoirs north and south of the lake, SB10, you know, that's somewhere out in the future. I'm going to talk about, in the meantime, before we get all that other stuff built, how are we going to be able to manage Lake Okeechobee? So these are some of the issues that we're going to have to look at. Well, how safe will the dike be? How will we affect estuary releases? How healthy will the lake be? And what's the lake water quality? So I'll take them sequentially. Okay, so if you drive down Cantor Highway, this is in the Fort Mayaca Cemetery, and this is the memoriam to the 1,600 people in this one mass grave after the 1928 hurricanes. There's also mass graves in West Palm Beach at the Tamarind Avenue and in Woodlawn, and there's some other graves out there. Anyway, so that was a big hurricane to overwash Belt Lake, killed a whole bunch of people, and kind of led to us building the Hoover Dike to try to protect the lakeside communities from that. This is what we don't ever want to have happen again, obviously. And so the Hoover Dike, it's been the subject of a lot of controversy, and they did a peer-reviewed consensus report on the safety of the dike. And here's one of the things that it said. There's total agreement that the safety of the dike cannot be guaranteed with a lake over 17 feet. Now, this was before they started fixing it. Once you get to 17 feet, they think the dike starts leaking enough that it actually can collapse. They said there is anecdotal evidence that the situation is deteriorating, even with the lake at only 15 feet. And it's believed the system came very close to failure in 1995 and in 1998. The dike almost collapsed back then. This is a sinkhole on the dike, And this is from a leak that started going through the dike, and it got so big that the roof started collapsing, and that sinkhole went all the way to the top of the dike. And had they not found that sinkhole, it would have collapsed the dike. They found it and patched it. So this is a very real thing. This really could happen. This is a patch over near Pahokee. This was after Hurricane Wilma, and you can see that they found another leak and they patched it up. And, you know, it's not close to breaching the dike, and the peer review committee said, you know, you guys are pretty good at patching the dike, but after a big storm, if the lake's very deep and you get several leaks, will you be able to catch them all? And so that's the peril of the dike, and that's why they're spending $1.6 billion trying to fix it. And this is also after Wilma, and this is the top of the dike. This is the very top. There's a road up there. And they said that this was within hours of failure. That had Wilma been a slower storm, had these waves kept hitting it, it could have cut through the top of the dike, and once that happened, it could have dropped the dike. So this is a very, very real situation, and something that the Corps and everybody's taking very seriously to try to get it fixed. So the Corps has a dam safety action classification, and it goes from 1 to 5, and right now, the Hoover Dike is considered a 1. And when they get done repairing it, it'll be a 2 or a 3. So what's dam safety action classification mean? Well, this is their table. So right now we're a 1, and the urgency is urgent and compelling, unsafe, critically near failure, or extreme high risk. And what that means is any given major storm could come in and take down the Hoover Dike right now. So that's pretty bad. If we get it to a 2, it will be urgent, unsafe, or potentially unsafe, failure initiation. Failure initiation means those leaks that eventually would take it down, or very high risk. If we get to 3, it'll still be considered conditionally unsafe and significantly inadequate or moderate to high risk. That's how good it's going to be when we get done fixing it. That may not make you feel real good. So what this is it basically, the things, it's really, really long, so there's a whole bunch of places where it could fail. It's 100 miles long. And it's made of dirt. It's just a big pile of dirt. When they went along, they scooped up the dirt or rocks or muck, and so it has all kinds of different materials in it. It's a really irregular feature. So what this means is in the future, after they fix a dike, it's not going to be safe. It's going to be less risky. And this is a huge limitation on what we do with future water levels, because no one wants that memorial marker to ever happen again. We don't want to have Katrina. And so this is going to be a huge limitation on how deep we can make the lake in the future. And this is the big problem here. This is 2004. Everybody remembers we had the 4 hurricanes. The lake went up 6 feet in just 2 months. And the problem with lake safety is it's safe below 15 feet. That's not really very dangerous. But once you get up above 15, 16, 17, you start getting dangerous. And it's not the level that you are at any given day. They say, well, let's keep the lake at 15 feet. It's the level that the lake's going to be after the next big storm goes by. The Corps isn't worried about this number. They're worried about this number. And so at any given time, when you know that the lake can go up 6 feet, you cannot stop it. When this happened, basically, they got 7 feet of water that went into the lake. And during those 2 months, they dumped 1 foot of it. That was all the faster they could dump it. But the other 6 feet got in the lake, and they couldn't stop it. And that gets back to that idea that the water can come in 6 times faster than we can release it. So this is what happens when you have a big storm. And this is the thing that keeps the colonel awake at night, is they know at any given time, if you have a huge storm come in, the lake's going to go up to whatever level it goes to. You can't stop it. And if you think about a DSAC 2 or DSAC 3, and the lake's considered unsafe, you're really scared of this, even after we fix the dike. So this is going to be a huge limitation on future water levels in Lake Okeechobee. And 2004 was pretty dramatic, but these are some rises that have happened. In 2000, went up 6 feet during the summer. Here's a couple 1 foot bumps. Here's 2008, that was Faye. It went up 4 feet in just 1 month. Last year, during our El Nino, it went up 4.5 feet in 7 months. So it's not uncommon for Lake Okeechobee to jump really fast. And so it's not, people say, well, we'll keep it at 15 feet. Well, you have to say 15 plus 4, is that acceptable? Or 15 plus 6, is that acceptable? So that's going to be a big constraint. Okay, so for one, after they fix a dike, it's going to be better. It's not going to be as dangerous, but it's not going to be as great. Estuary releases. This is Tropical Storm Faye. This is a year when the lake went up 6 feet in 2008 also. But here's Faye. Faye came in and it went up 4 feet in just 1 month. the reason I show this is basically it only went to 15 feet, and that's not an emergency level. And the Corps didn't have to open the gates and dump it down the estuary. The lake caught all this water. This is close to 2 million acre feet of water. And so in the future, if we keep the lake relatively low, when a storm comes, the lake can catch that water, and you don't have to have big dumps. If we keep the lake at 15 feet, and then you have Fay come in, and it goes up to 19, big dumps. So for the safety of the estuary, the lower the lake is in the future, the more storage space we have in the lake, the bigger buffer you have. So if we fix the dike and then raise the lower end of the lake, you're gonna be no better off than you are right now. So for estuary releases, in the future, you guys are not gonna want the lake held very deep because of this safety issue. Lake health. Okay, I hate showing this picture. This just gives me the creeps. But you've all seen it. Here's the middle of the lake, and it's a big mess. And a lot of people think of Okeechobee as being toxic and being horrible and being a mud hole and being, all kinds of problems because of this type of a problem. And there's your estuary, or there's your canal going right now to you. But the western side of the lake, this is all marsh. And this marsh, at the very same time that this bloom was going on, and the middle of the lake was a complete mess, was gorgeous. This is some Heliocris flats. The water's clear. This is snail kite up there. This is looking down into the water. These are Valison area, and you can't even see the water because it's so clear. And the lake is about 1/3 marsh. It's about 1/3 of this stuff. And even when there's an algae bloom going on in the middle, the back marshes are rainfall driven and they're just gorgeous. And I've had a few of you guys out in the boat with me before. And at the same time, the middle of the lake is just a disaster. The marshes can still be great. And so this is a great resource. It's full of birds. We can catch 1 million crappie a year out of Lake Okeechobee, more than the whole rest of the state. So it's kind of a tale of two lakes. And when the lake gets too deep, these communities really get harmed. After 2004 and 5, these two photos are almost an identical spot. This is after the storms of 4 and 5. You notice all the plants are gone, and once they're gone, all the birds are gone, all the fish are gone. The crappie fishery crashed for about 10 years. And you could lose up to 70 square miles of plant communities, which then you lose. So in the future, if we get above 16 feet, that's about the magic level where things start going bad. If the lake gets above 16 feet in the future, the lake's going to get harmed. So when we make decisions on how deep we want to keep the lake, we got to say, okay, how often would that be above 16? Okay, then number 4, and I'm going through this kind of fast, but these are 4 things we're going to have to think about. There's a weird thing about the lake. When it gets deep, the water quality goes downhill. And this terrible graph, I know I apologize for it, but this basically, here's the goal for Lake Okeechobee. We want it to be 40 parts per billion. If the phosphorus in the lake was 40 parts per billion, we wouldn't be having these cyanobacteria blooms. You just don't get them below that. That's why the goal is 40. Basically, when the lake was down here, we didn't have them, and now we have them. And so here's 2004 and 5. And notice when the lake was deep then, look at how high the water quality was. And look at how low it got here. It was down to 100 parts per billion in about 2011 and 12. And that was a period when the lake was very low. We had 2007 and 8, the lake was low. We had 2011, we had a drop and the lake got very low. And basically,